Welcome to The Explainer. Go ahead and just take a deep breath and settle in for a second because today we are going to dismantle pretty much everything you thought you knew about forgiveness. We're looking at a concept that is so deeply misunderstood and honestly kind of misused in our day-to-day lives. You know how society treats forgiveness like a transaction, right? Like it's some sort of interpersonal debt to pay or the social grace you have to perform. We're totally conditioned to believe that when someone wrongs us, there's this expected script we gotta follow just to keep the peace. Well, today, we are completely stripping away those social expectations. Instead of looking outward, we're turning our focus inward, and we're going to carefully examine the true internal architecture of what it actually means to forgive. Right off the bat, I need you to absorb this one fundamental truth. Forgiveness is not about them. Seriously, if you take away literally one thing from our time together today, let it be this. When someone wrongs us, our defensive walls immediately and totally understandably just shoot right up. We suddenly feel this massive, heavy pressure that we have to do something for the person who hurt us. There's this huge cultural push that we owe them some kind of absolution, or, if we don't grant them peace for somehow just holding a bitter grudge. Let me just completely drop that expectation for you right now. It's the biggest myth out there. Who does forgiveness actually serve? It serves you, period. The work of forgiveness is basically a private renovation of your own mind, completely independent of the person who actually caused the damage. Okay, let's dive into this deeply ingrained disconnect. For years, we've been fed this specific social myth. The idea that forgiveness somehow excuses the wrong that was done to you, or that it actually requires a heartfelt apology from the other person to even be valid. But really, that's just a performative social obligation. Think about how dangerous that myth actually is. If you require an apology to forgive, you are literally handing the person who hurt you the keys to your own healing. You're waiting on them to find your own peace. There's no way that works. The actual reality is entirely different. True forgiveness acknowledges reality exactly as it is, no sugarcoating, and it functions purely as an internal release. It's not about making peace with someone else. It's about making peace within yourself about what went down. I want to firmly validate exactly what you might be feeling right now. If you were hurt, what happened to you was wrong, full stop. Forgiving does not diminish what they did, it doesn't magically make it acceptable. And it definitely doesn't rewrite reality. What happened, happened. True forgiveness is about total awareness, not denial. It is looking directly at the wrong that was done to you and saying, yeah, that happened, it was incredibly painful, and it was entirely wrong. But I am moving on anyway. And notice this very carefully. Forgiveness is not a conversation you owe anyone. You don't need to call them up, you don't need to explain it over coffee, and you certainly don't need their apology. It is a completely silent internal shift. Because, if we don't understand that, we end up stuck right here, inside the invisible mental prison. Think about what physically and mentally happens when you hold on to that anger or resentment. You wake up in the morning, and before you've even had your coffee, your mind just defaults to that same painful replay loop. Your mind simply doesn't leave the event. The pacing of your thoughts quickens, your heart rate elevates just a little bit, the anxiety loops over and over and over, and slowly, without you even noticing, it builds this prison. The secondary pain of holding on to this resentment agitates you every single day. It's absolutely exhausting. It's not a prison with visible iron bars, but it's one you carry with you everywhere you go, draining your energy and completely dictating your mood. And there is a profound, albeit really difficult truth we have to face about all this exhaustion. The person who hurt you may have moved on, but your nervous system, it is still living in that moment. Just think about the hidden neurological and psychological cost of that unreleased emotional load. When an unresolved grievance just plays on a loop, your brain actually perceives it as a current, active threat. You're physically and mentally paying the price for someone else's past actions because your own nervous system is trapped in a defensive state, constantly reliving the danger. You're basically surviving an event that has already ended. So the crucial point is understanding this core concept of internal balance. Internal balance is the state achieved when forgiveness finally softens that constant replay loop in your mind and gives your system the necessary space to just breathe again. Imagine what it feels like to have that biological and emotional equilibrium restored. Your muscles unclench, your mind clears. Peace is the ultimate outcome of restoring this balance. Let me be clear, it's not a little reward you're handing out for their good behavior. It's a fundamental necessity for your own well-being. It reduces your emotional load so you can actually show up and be present in your own life today. Okay, so we've established the internal architecture, but how do we actually construct it? Well, this brings us to a pivotal turning point. the Instruction Guide Protocol. Now, this isn't just some abstract philosophy or, fluffy feel-good advice. This is a concrete tactical mechanism that you can use to immediately begin disengaging that mental loop. We need to shift away from just understanding the theory of forgiveness and start executing the practice of it. So let's walk through exactly how you take back your control. Here are the 4 steps to this protocol. First, acknowledge what happened without distortion. Basically, face the reality without minimizing it or pretending it didn't hurt. Second, recognize the emotional charge. Like, what does it actually feel like in your body? Notice how the memory still makes your chest tight or your stomach drop or your jaw clench. Third, and guys, this is the monumental pivot. Decide consciously. You make a firm, active decision that you no longer want this event to control your present state. You are drawing a line in the sand. And fourth, ground in your body and breathe. Bring your attention right back to the present physical moment, anchoring yourself safely in the now. That conscious decision in step 3, that is the master key to the entire process.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core message of the protocol. This is not about forgetting. It's about disengaging the loop. You are not passively erasing history or pretending a painful event didn't happen to you. Passively hoping time will just sort of magically heal the wound, that just leaves you powerless. Instead, you are actively, deliberately choosing to hit the stop button on the replay. You're stripping away the power that a past memory has over your present waking moment. It's like you're acknowledging the scar, but absolutely refusing to let the wound keep bleeding into your daily life.
So, I want to ask you a question. What if you just put the weight down? Take a moment to really, truly sit with that. Think of the emotional baggage you've been hauling around. Think about the texture of it, the sheer density, and the completely exhausting effort it takes to carry it day after day, year after year. Honestly, it takes so much energy just to stay angry. What if you simply decided to set it down? I want you to imagine holding a heavy physical weight in your hands right now. Feel how it pulls at your muscles, how it really strains your back. That weight represents the memory, the pain, and the anger. Notice the approach we're taking here. You don't fight the weight. Fighting it only engages your muscles more, right? You don't judge the weight, and you definitely don't judge yourself for holding it for so long. That's just a futile act that adds guilt to your pain. Instead, you simply decide to uncurl your fingers and put it down. And let's be absolutely clear about this. You aren't putting it down because the burden wasn't heavy. It was incredibly heavy. You are putting it down because you are finally done carrying it. When you drop that weight, a really profound shift happens in your internal state. You transition from this sympathetic fight or flight mode into a parasympathetic rest and digest state. As you let the weight go, your body softens, your shoulders finally drop away from your ears, your breath deepens, filling your lungs a little more easily than it did just a minute ago. Your mind gets quieter, the nervous system finally settles. Now, you might not notice all of it in a single split second, but you will feel that subtle, deep sensory relief of a biological system that realizes it is simply no longer under threat. That is forgiveness working as a true physiological shift. Forgiveness is reclaiming your mental space and choosing not to live inside what hurt you anymore. It is not weakness. It is not excusing bad behavior. You are the sole architect of your own mind. Why on earth let an old pain take up permanent residence in your present peace? You have the tools now. You have the protocol. So, what space will you reclaim today?